So with the talks of interest rates falling down, a lot of sellers will hold the inventory. The rent is directly correlated with the interest rates. So as the rates go up, affordability drops, so people go and rent.
Before the rate cuts, everyone was anticipating a huge problem when it comes to refinancing.
Yeah.
Now, and we never expected that it would drop rates so aggressively, so fast.
Those people who are Airbnb their properties getting hit by 13% HST. Donald Trump got elected, and how that's going to affect the Toronto market.
He wants to have an emergency meeting about all the people that are going to move as asylum seekers from the US to Canada. And then that's going to put impact on our rental market 100%.
Inflation is lower. We can see another rate drop by the end of the year. Finally, over 44% increase in sales. Average sale price is up over 1%, and condo sales are up 33%. Finally, things are looking better. We had a 0.5% decrease in interest rates, and we got today one of our new team members, Ali, here.
Good to be here.
Ali, welcome.
Thank you
And
so much.
what we're going to talk about today is what's going on, especially after the fact that the interest rates drop, and we had a major one, 0.5%, and where we think the market is heading by the end of the year and hopefully into the next year. So let's get started. Guys, thanks for watching. We're back at Reality Check, where we discuss what's happening in Toronto's real estate market, where it's going, and help you make informed decision buying and selling. We've got Ali here again. So Ali, what do you think? What's going on in the market today?
I mean, I think we're seeing the results of the rate cuts coming in. It's still pretty early, but it's a good indicator. First month that we're having increase in sales. And if this trend continues, we're going to have a hot spring.
Yeah, I think people have been sitting on the sideline for way too long. And especially with the most recent drop in the rates, I think everyone, especially the first-time homebuyers, are getting back into the market because, as we know, as the rates drop, the prices will eventually increase. And we're going to look at it here. I mean, going back to all the way to July of 2020, things were pretty much all heated up.
Yep.
Going into the COVID. As the rates were low, prices started to increase. And as we can see, we had some of the lowest interest rates at that point.
Pretty much zero.
Yeah. And things got out of control February of 2022. And then as the rates started to increase, we see a sharp decline right here. Anytime, pretty much between March all the way till July of 2020.
So it's always a direct correlation. Like when rates rise, prices go down, sales go down, they drop. It's a known fact. So it's no surprise that we're seeing, sales pick up. And with a big 0.5%, that was a big one. And I think it kind of shocked everyone in a good way. And I think we're going to continue seeing more rate cuts come.
So again, just to continue, going back to July of 2020, we had the major interest rate hike, 1%. And as we can see, prices didn't drop from that point on. I mean, they were pretty steady, bouncing all around. We've been hovering around in the low 1.1s majority of the time. We had a couple of peaks. One was back in, I think it was 2023, April, May, when the 5-year interest rate went down to around 4.7, 4.6.
Right, yeah.
And then we had the rate increase in June, July. So everything slowed down. And all the way from June, July of 2023 going forward, market was pretty much, I would say, pretty slow.
Yeah, very slow. But it didn't really affect prices the way a lot of us anticipated. Like we anticipated prices going down drastically, a huge correction, maybe 10, 20%. There was a price drop in certain areas, but it pretty much held its own.
Pretty much as soon as we passed the 3% overnight rate, the prices kind of held steady. I mean, we went as high as 5, but the prices didn't fall below a certain point. And that's what we call the resistance point, because whether it's detached, whether it's semi, any type of housing, when price gets to a certain level, there is enough demand that will kick in and hold that price in that level. And given the huge number of immigration that we've had in the last few years, there was a good amount of demand that held the prices steady where they were.
Yeah, on average, they're bringing in 1 million people in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. So a year. So that really helped things, especially in the rental market.
Yeah.
Rent was getting expensive. So people had to turn into purchasing in some cases.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense.
So the rent is directly correlated with the interest rate. So as the rates go up, affordability drops, so people go and rent. And that's why we saw a sharp increase in the rental rates. And right now, from the peak of the rental rate, which I would like to say, I would say it was around September of 2023, so about a year ago, average rent is down by about 15% overall in GTA. So, and we can see that downtown Toronto and Midtown, they've been, I would say, dropped the most. At one point, we were seeing a one-bedroom's rent around $2,700, and we're talking about 500 square feet, $2,800 bucks a month, no parking. And now things have gotten back to a more normal level, like, normal for Toronto, I would say.
Yeah.
We're seeing one bedrooms rent around the 2,400 again. As the rates started to drop, what we saw was prices start to increase. So right now, for the last 3 months, we are seeing prices slowly rise. I personally believe what we're seeing right now is still the effect of June and July rate drop, because it takes
Just 6 months lag at least. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's 90 to 180 days maximum
Yeah.
that it will take to feel the full effect of any rate drop. So what we're seeing right now, I would say, is the effect of June, July, and then what will happen in October, as I always been saying it, Nick back there knows, I've been saying it, February of 2025 is when the, I would say, freehold market is going to pick up. And I think with October rate drop, we're going to see the full effect of that in February.
And we just had the job numbers come out and they weren't that great. So that's going to, entice the bank to even cut further, more aggressively. So
there are talks. I mean, every news outlet, every economist is predicting a rate drop in December. How much of it? That's a big question.
Last I checked, it was 50-50 whether it's going to be a quarter or 50%. But after today's news, who knows? It might go to be another 50 points. Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be, because I didn't think they were going to drop half a point in October. But from what I've heard from Ben Tal, the CIBC economist, apparently the target rate that the Bank of Canada has in mind is 2.5% by about end of next year.
Right.
So, I mean, we got a long way to go, but if that is where they're heading, where do you think the price is going to be, let's say, next year this time?
I mean, there for sure, I see an increase. By how much, it's anyone's guess. But I think what's really key is if you're in the market of buying a home, and as you've always said it, right now in the fall market, it's a really good time because you still have negotiating power. You still could get into the market. You could still put that condition if you need. You could still put that financing condition that you need. But in January, February, and March, if things do pick up, you may not have that same, negotiation. Rates may go down, but prices may tick up further, and you won't be able to negotiate because there are going to be more people in the market.
So the reason prices go up is a direct correlation between the demand and supply. So let's talk about the numbers and what's going on, what happened in October. So the sales picked up drastically. I mean, we had 44% increase year over year.
Huge.
Last year we had 4,600 sales. Now we're at 6,600 sales. Month over month, it was up 25%. The inventory shrunk. So from 25,600, we're down to almost 24,500. And because of just these two numbers, the month of inventory that we're pretty much in the buyer category territory at over 5 months of inventory, we're down to 3.68 months of inventory. So this falls below 3. We're going to start to see offer dates.
Bidding wars coming back in. And it's interesting, you made a really good point. A lot of times year over year numbers are looking strong, but month over month isn't. But now both of them are looking strong, which is a really key point.
Yeah. And I think this is what pretty much contributes to the FOMO that people get, because I'm seeing it right now happen, that some of the townhomes, freehold towns that were sitting on the market are starting to sell. And clients that were looking at those finally see there was 4 or 5 options available. All of a sudden, there's two. There's 2 more popping up with offer dates. If those 2 sell suddenly for a price that no one expects, that's what happens. People that didn't get to buy those will rush to buy, and this will have a huge effect.
Yeah, and then the seller's mindset you have to think about too, because they're going to hold out because they're seeing what's happening with the rates. They're going to want to have more money in the spring, so they're not going to put their property up for sale now. They're going to wait.
So exactly, that's the point. So with the talks of interest rates falling down, a lot of sellers will hold the inventory. Buyers going on the market, so the supply will come down. The sale activity will rise. The months of inventory goes below 2%, and that's when we're going to see double-digit price increases. So that's how it feeds off of each other.
Sure.
Yeah. And right now, the average price went up by 1.1%, not a lot. I mean, we've been hovering at around 1.1 million for a long time. I mean, let's just go back to October last year was 1,125,000. Then, we hovered around 1.1 all along. I mean, the highest sale number that we've had in the last 12 months was 1,165,000. We're right now at 1,135,000. And the average days on the market, I mean, we're still at 27 days, which is, I would say, relatively higher for Toronto. It's not high, but for Toronto, it's a little bit high.
Yeah, and I think another point, before the rate cuts, everyone was anticipating a huge problem when it comes to refinancing.
Yeah.
Now, and we never expected they would drop rates so aggressively so fast. And I don't think we're going to have that problem come next year when people are refinancing, coming up for a new term. They're not going to be having that sticker shot as they thought they were going to have.
Yeah.
So that's going to lower the inventory even further.
Yeah.
Yeah. People aren't going to be forced to sell as much as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah. And another shock is just what happened right now with the months of inventory. I mean, GTA overall fell down, but Toronto alone. Toronto was, just last month, was 5.5 months of inventory. Now we're down to almost 9 months of inventory.
That's huge.
And that's a huge difference. And the big portion of it came from the sales that happened in the condo market. I mean, the sales in condos picked up in a long time. So right now, year over year, 31% increase in condo sales. Last year, it was 882 sales. So right now we're at 1,162 sales. And 2022 was no different. That was again around 888 sales. So we were hovering around the high 800s. Now all of a sudden we hit over 1,100 sales.
And I mean, October is typically a slow month anyways, right? And it's doing pretty well.
October, I mean, September, October is fall market. So it's kind of, I would say it's a fall market. It's good, but we're going towards this slow part of it now as we're approaching the end. But I mean, with the rate drop not coming towards the end of October, I mean, market was doing good because in anticipation of it.
Exactly,
I guess. So let's look at a few of these sub-market. Another region that we've always been tracking is York region. So York region sales also picked up. We actually track different types of prices for detached semi-towns and condos. So the average sale price of a detached actually rose. So September was close to 1.6. Now we're at 1.665. Semis from 1,083,000 went up to 1.106. Townhomes dropped, so it was over 1.1 million. Now we're below 1.1, and condos are pretty much flat. They were around 673. Now they are at 675. So I mean, overall things are looking good. Comparing different types of products in Toronto, detached went up. The detached market went up by about 90,000, I would say, in Toronto. So from 1,686,000 to 1,779,000. Semi-detached was around 1.3, went up to 1.315. Towns were around 978. Now they're over 1,032,000. And condos actually went up, surprisingly, because in August, we had a sharp decline in the average condo price. So something interesting. In July, the average sale price of a condo was close to $749,000. Let's call it $750,000. In August, it dropped down to $681,000.
Wow.
almost 682. So we had a huge drop in average sale prices of condos, and as everyone knows, condo activity has been pretty slow.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen overall in the GTA with the condo sales?
I mean, I don't think we're going to see an overnight increase in condos because there's so much built and there's still a lot of inventory out there. But what that's going to do is if prices are going to go up again, what does that always happen? When detached prices go up, they're out of reach. People are going to have to go back to condos. So I think that's going to kind of have that effect for us.
So that is a really good point. I think once February of 2025 rolls around, we're going to see detached freehold products start to go up in prices. We have to see them reach to a level
that's out of reach again.
That again becomes out of reach for a lot of people. Then what will happen is it will trickle down to other products. So let's say even if it's a condo town or a larger 2 or 3 bedrooms are the ones that are going to start to see the increase first. And then as they increase, I would say one bedroom plus, because there's just so many 1 bedrooms right now in the market.
And you're so right. Like the 2 or 3 bedroom condos, they're an awesome townhouse alternative for families. Yeah. So they're going to see a price increase. Previously, they were selling for in Richmond Hill, $700,000 for a 3 bedroom. But now it may increase again because of the direct correlation with the detached going up.
Perfect.
So
So I think in terms of stats, we've covered everything. Anything you want to add right now before we head to the news?
No, I think, we covered it. One thing that I noticed that was interesting is that the prices in York region for detaches also went up. Usually when you have a rate drop, people rush to buy the cheaper product. But even the more expensive product, the sales went up. So that was kind of interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I mean, even the average price went up slightly. So that's interesting. I think we're going to see, again, York region has always been prone to have those big
spikes.
Yeah. So I think detached is going to be the first segment that's going to start to rise. But no, I don't think anything crazy is going to happen till the end of the year. I think majority of the big spike, we'll probably see that by next spring.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the 2021 or 2022 market anytime soon. But if you're in the market, it's better to act now than later.
Guys, before we go further, hit that subscribe button, click the like, and share it with anyone you think they may find this useful. Let's go into news. So there was a huge news about Airbnbs, and those people who are Airbnbing their properties getting hit by a 13% HST when they sell their investment property. The caveat to that is they talk about these people actually renting it, let's say as a hotel, as a business. So when the sale comes, there's going to be a 13% tax. But those people that are using it as their principal res. So if you're in Toronto, first of all, it's going to be your principal res, and then you can only rent it half the year. So those people could be exempt. I mean, there's not a clear...
Yeah, it's not clear. But what I found shocking, it's the 13% off the sale price.
Yeah,
not off the profit or any. It's off the sale price, so it doesn't. You could be at a negative in a lot of cases.
Well, that's the whole thing. So let's say you've bought a property, just
like a condo, for example.
Let's just call it $1 million. And realistically, if anyone bought a condo in the last 4 or 5 years, it hasn't really gone up. If anything, it's gone down too.
Yeah.
So not only you're down, you're gonna pay 13%. So even if you're up, you're gonna be up let's say 15%, more than that, because after commission you're gonna be pretty much 20% up to even just be break even.
And I mean, to your point, there's a lot of unanswered questions about it. Like, how is that 13% going to be calculated? Is it going to be a business expense that they could write off as a negative if they're actually negative? That's a great example. $1 million condo, if they bought it 3-4 years ago, they're down.
Yeah,
how?
I think it would be as an income,
as an expense. So
well, it would pretty much put your income into negative. So I'm guessing you're going to be paying less income tax for a few years. But here's what it says. It says the Tax Court of Canada says properties that are consistently rented out on short-term listing platforms are subject to HST on the property when they sell it.
I love the vagueness of that, consistently.
Yeah,
what does that mean? 60%, 50%?
They never say anything. It's
just that the vacant home tax, that how it was run the first year was horrible. I think this is going to be the same thing. the first year of the vacant home tax was
That
was a terrible
gong
disaster.
show.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be the same thing because there's so many variables.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that's gonna play out. I personally, this is my just take of reading the news, reading the section on CRA that was talking about this, is that this pretty much applies to a lot of these cottage countries that people are not even there. That's not even their principal res, and they're
It is a business essentially.
it's always on Airbnb getting rented short term. So those properties are going to be hit with.
And what a
HST.
time the cottage prices have gone down. So
Yeah, so this is gonna be a
perfect timing.
disaster in my opinion for the cottage country properties, because as it is, they've come down a lot,
yeah.
since 2.5 years ago. And with this, I mean, there's no incentive to even purchase these anymore. And there are so many developments that came out pre-construction right now. There's one of them up for sale in Muskoka, one up for sale
purpose built for
Airbnbs.
Oh, wow.
In Blue Mountain. And so this is I don't know how this is gonna affect their sales, because people were banking on buying these things and renting them at.
When is this going live? Do we know when is this going to actually be
Apparently
implemented?
it is live, and it's always been. I think they clarified it's because I was reading on some court cases that were like 2 or 3 years old, and people
Wow.
that were renting these things out, they were charged. They were hit with a 13% HST, and there are a few court cases.
I mean, well, when you're only going to pay it when you sell, but what happens is it devalues the Airbnb market if anybody wants to buy a product that's Airbnb allowed. So you're not going to pay the tax if you're just continue operating. But
So
it's not like a yearly tax, like the vacant home buyer tax.
So I think there could be a few ways around it. I mean, again, I don't want to say that I know this, but technically, if there's another, let's just say you have a property that's Airbnb, there's another company buying it to Airbnb it. So I mean, technically, it's a business buying it. Then
the HST
is going to be applied, so they have to pay the HST. You submit the HST, or in a lot of these transactions, they will put the HSC number, so there's no HSC being actually like transacted, but behind the scenes you have to pay.
And I wonder
at the time of sale again.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I wonder if they're going to just a lot of valuable properties like the cottages and whatnot. Maybe they'll just tack on the HST price to that price, and it just kind of.
Well, I mean, like new home sales have the HSCs in them. You get a HSC rebate of $24,000.
Right.
So when you're buying brand new, you're paying for HSC regardless.
So you think that's going to limit the number of people who want to sell? Maybe the
like,
cottage market might
I don't
actually
see
get
why someone would buy a property anymore when they're off the bat they're gonna be 13% below it, because when you're selling a property you have to pay commission. When you're buying it, you got to pay the land transfer tax. So roughly, let's just call it like 2% land transfer taxes if you're out of Toronto. 13% that you're already at 15% commission. You're gonna be like over 20% with HSC on the closing costs as well. So
they're treating it completely like a commercial property.
In my opinion, they want to get rid of anyone that's doing Airbnb. So pretty much, if you're buying a property to make money, you shouldn't. That's the gist of this, guys. It would mean a lot for us to get those subscribed, so hit that subscribe and like button. Thank you. In other news was the rate cut, and more news is coming about with the unemployment rate going up higher and the fact that inflation is lower. We could see another rate drop by the end of the year. I think that's pretty much the most important things we could talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the election just happened, so
we got
U.S.
Donald
election.
Trump. So that's another big news. Yeah, Donald Trump got elected, and how that's going to affect the Toronto market. How do you think that's going to affect the Toronto
I think it's
market?
going to affect our economy as a whole, because right now he's going to probably introduce more tariffs. He's going to bring more jobs. Our job market's going to get affected for sure. He's going to take back a lot of the jobs that we took, so it's going to affect us all around. And our dollar, I think the U.S. dollar went up. I think the day he got elected, or he won the election. So,
well, all dollar is devalued just right now because of the interest rate. Dropped, but overall, I think a lot of people are going to move. That's what this Google search results say. So that's going to impact the real estate market. But will it actually have a huge impact? God knows. In terms of their monetary policy, because he's going to be injecting a lot of money into the economy, so that will probably create some inflation there. So if there's an inflation and if they increase their rates. So
Yeah, and we have to be
Canada's,
careful. Yeah.
dollar is going to get more devalued. Maybe some people will actually move from theirs because their dollar is strong. They can buy cheaper properties here.
Well, actually, the Quebec Premier Francois Legault actually brought it up, saying that he wants to have an emergency meeting about all the people that are going to move as asylum seekers from the U.S. to Canada,
we didn't discuss
and then
that.
that's going to put impact on our rental market 100%. And it's already going to happen. It's not like they're going to wait until
Yeah.
January. They're going to do it right away before he even comes to office. So it will be interesting to see how that affects. And they trickle down to Ontario too. So
Perfect. Okay, well, Ali, thanks a lot for joining us
Awesome.
this episode.
yeah, I had a pleasure. It was a good one.
Thank
Let's
you.
do it again.
Hopefully, we'll see you soon again.
Yeah, for sure.
And guys, if you like this episode, make sure to click that subscribe, share it, and hit that like. And we'll see you next time.